have it up on my phone to make sure that it does it. Somebody tell us if you can see us. Doesn't look like it is yet. Delayed. Whoop. Ooh, what's that happening, Steph?
Oh, that was
my intro
as well. Okay, it looks like we're up.
Yeah. Are we? Oh yeah, the ad.
Oh yeah.
All
and
right.
We got a whole bunch of people in already.
Nice.
Should I be watching this on YouTube or on here?
No, you stay up on here. I just have it up on.
Okay.
But, all right. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our Outlander Therapy live show. Whew, how is everyone doing? I got my drink here. Got a new mug for my birthday. Super cute. Steph, what you got, girl? Oh, all right. That was
my Hydro Flask.
I filled mine all the way to the top.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, first off, I was fangirling a little bit before we started because I'm so happy to have Tracey here with us. And Steph, I'm always happy to have you. You're my main girl here on BookTube. But let's just do some quick intro for people since we're kind of crossing streams. Normally, I'm just a regular book channel, but Outlander's kind of where my heart is most of the time. So, Tracey, if you would just kind of tell about your channel real quick and where what you do.
Sure. So myself, Tracey, and my sister Carol run My Outlander Purgatory. We are a site that started off as a blog that Carol started when she started reading Outlander. It evolved into a Twitter account, and just kind of randomly, we started doing these little videos talking about the show or about the books long before there was a show. Because we were tired of emailing about them. People actually watch them. Fast forward to now, when we have recapped all of the seasons. We've gotten to do a red carpet event or two, which is a lot of fun. Gotten to meet Diana a couple of times, which is great. She's wonderful. And this Outlander world is crazy and awesome, and we couldn't be happier here. And we love the show and we love the books. But we're
so jealous. Goals, if God would be so good as I get to meet Diane. I just want coronavirus to wait to be done so that when her book comes out, I can find a way to see her. Because if they release her book, I can't go.
I know.
Anyway. All right, Steph, why don't you introduce yourself too? Most of my channel knows you, but we probably have some of Tracey's people too.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie. I have a romance channel here on YouTube called Steph's Romance Book Talk. I talk a lot about indie books, indie authors, and things of that nature. I do trickle over into some of the more popular, traditional written romances, but I am definitely a huge indie supporter for indie authors. I go to a lot of events and I put out 3 videos per week. And my main staple video is my Sunday weekly wrap up where I tell you guys about, or tell my channel about all the books that I read during the week.
Yeah, so good. I get a lot of my book recommendations from you. So I think over a couple questions ahead of time. I mean, they're kind of the basic questions about just how in the show specifically, which some of you that might, for Tracey, you were reading the books first, but for me, I was a show first person, but let's kind of do about that. So how long have you been watching the show? And yeah, just what was your story with that? You've kind of told us some of it, but just when did you?
Right. So I've obviously been reading the books before the show. We started reading the books, I think in 2009. I don't know how many Twilight fans we have here, but for many people, 2009 I think was a big year for Outlander fandoms because Twilight was the gateway drug to Outlander. A lot of people finished Twilight.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Probably a little bit of the True Blood series as well, the Sookie Stackhouse novels, because that was another big, because True Blood was on at that point. So a lot of people were reading that. But Twilight really, like the last Twilight book came out, everybody read it. Everybody was like, what now? So a friend of mine introduced me to Outlander, the series. She said, Jamie Fraser is like the greatest character on God's earth. You know, Edward Schmedward, whatever. And I didn't start the book for like 4 months. I was like, time travel, it sounds so science fiction-y. Finally started it on vacation, couldn't put it down, finished it in 4 days. Like, I don't even remember. We went to Puerto Rico. I don't even remember Puerto Rico because all I did was read. And I got my sister Carol involved in it. She read it. We just flew through the series. And we would email each other about it all the time. Finally, like I said, we started making videos just because we were tired of emailing. And at that time, there weren't a whole lot of Outlander sites around. There were, you know, there was Karen Henry's Outlandish Observations. There were Ladies of Lollybrock, but not a whole lot. There was the CompuServe site that Diana posts on. So, you know, we got a following there. And once the show started, all of a sudden, there were so many more people introduced into not only the show, but the book series surrounding it, like you guys. And so now there's a ton of people who follow it and recap it and blog about it and whatnot. But that's how we started. So yeah, we were book readers long before the show.
Nice. Steph, when did you start watching?
So I actually didn't start reading or watching the show until probably, I think it was season 2 was getting ready to start. And I was having needed a mental health day and was sitting at home and was like, you know what, let me see what all this hype is about Outlander. And I binged it and was like, what? Now I need to find all the books and start reading. And then I figured out that the books were hella long, like super long. And I was like, I don't know if I can commit that much time to this book, but let me go ahead and try. But I'm still going to get into the TV show. And ever since then, I have religiously recorded it. I have religiously watched it on Monday evenings because I would record it on Sunday nights because Sunday nights is a family night for us. So we're all watching television. So I can't kick the guys out. That would be way too many days of me kicking them off of the big, large television that we have. So, because I already do that on Thursday nights, but so Sunday.
You're all men, aren't you?
Yes.
Because you have boys, right? Okay.
Yeah, my husband and my son.
You need ladies.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That's just how I kind of came about it. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, for me it was I had just moved to Fargo where I live now, and they were on the break between the first half of the first season, and I actually found the first half for $10 at I found this at Barnes & Noble for $10. And I was like, oh, this looks fun. Not the Blu-ray. I said, this one. That's the second half. I found this for $10. And I was like, I didn't have internet yet hooked up yet. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just binge this until my internet's hooked up, whatever. And I was hooked, right? Just watched those 8 episodes in like, I think 2 days because I started late the one night. And then I was just done. So I went and bought the book, and because I had to know what happened, right? Because there's that horrible cliffhanger in you know, when he pops in, take your hand off my wife. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? The knife's at the nipple. And I'm like, what's going on here? I have to find out what happened. And so I went and bought the book, read that. And then I didn't jump into the second one yet. Because again, actually, I didn't say this yet when it's live. I was afraid about what the time jump thing meant. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. So that's why, like, I quickly, though, became more of a book lover than the show, even though I do see the characters from the show in my head because that's who I saw first. I'm interested to ask you about that in a second, of like what that's like for you, because all of my friends have all watched the show first if they read the books at all. But I got through all the rest of the books in the time between season 1 or between 1 and 2, I guess. So I guess I did do that. Because, yeah, I read all the rest of them within like 8 months. And then, yeah, I've just been obsessed ever since. So for the last like 5 years, basically. So it's been awesome. But yeah, well, let's just dive in. I had like one other question to kind of pop in, and then we have some viewer questions that were already sent to me ahead of time.
Oh, cool.
And the one that I just wanted to ask is I wanted to ask what have been your like top 2 favorite episodes so far? That's a fun one that you guys in the comments can answer that too. We'll pop some of those up there. Go for it, Tracey.
Well, I always say my gold standard is probably Garrison Commander from season 1. You know, and ironically, it doesn't have much Jamie in it. It's a lot of it is Blackjack and Claire in a room, just talking. I think that's where you see the backstory of when Jamie was flogged, if I recall correctly. But I loved it because it was really like watching a play almost, you know? I mean, it was, just the incredible work of Katrina and Tobias Menzies. But yeah, it was, there were just so many levels in their performances and so many, like, it's such a cat and mouse kind of rapport between the two of them. Where at one point, you know, she's got all the power and then he's got all the power. And it just, I don't even really remember it on the page, you know, being as like riveting as I thought that episode was. So really for me, that's the gold standard. That one, you know, that everything else has to hold a candle to that one.
It's so much. There's so much tension. You just know he just is like gonna snap any second. Oh, it's so good.
And they're both, you know, I find that he's really like in those moments, like believable. Like, I mean, he's an awful person, but you kind of see like where that's coming from to a degree. Yeah. And I mean, again, the whole level of like how she feels subconsciously comfortable with him because he's the spitting image of Frank, and she at times almost, you know, has to be reminded of that they're different people, you know. She can be lulled into this false sense of security. So that was just a blow me away episode.
Yeah, so good. How about you, Steph?
Well, I'm not a Frank fan at all. So like any episode, I'm just like, nah, do without him and just but I really love Murtaugh. I love Murtaugh. Just love him so much. And surprisingly, I like Maisie.
Marcelly?
Marcelly, yes, Marcelly. Yeah. And I didn't think I was going to like her when she was, you know, initially introduced into the story and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, you're just as evil. You're just as evil as your mom is. Do I really want to like you? So I really don't have like an episode like to be able to like, oh, this is the episode that really, you know, that I can go back to. It's just characters. And of course I love the wedding. The wedding was just so swoon-worthy for me. I loved all of that. I was like, oh, the Claire and Jamie's wedding, Brianna and Roger's wedding. It was their not their wedding, their hand fasting was so just beautiful and intimate. And I just really, really enjoyed it. And then Bonnet had to go and spoil everything.
Yeah. We get I love for a total of 20 minutes in the entire show. And that's about 15
right?
Oh
boy, I can't wait. And then I'd have to say this last episode, the season finale, was just breathtaking. I mean, as an episode, I would have to say that one, maybe because it's just fresh in my mind, but I think the way that they handled the subject matter and the flashbacks or the disassociation that Claire ended up doing, it was a hard one to watch, but at the same time, it just took my breath away how they handled just that whole situation and, you know, sort of modernized it and allowed it to be, cool. You know, as a topic that is very prevalent in, you know, conversations now, and what is happening to her, even though it happened so long ago.
Right.
And it was such a, you know, regular thing for, you know, the 1700s for something like that to happen. But for them to be able to explain it in the 2020s
modern days, right,
and, you know, give that just punch to it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I thought that the 60s thing was brilliant on tons of levels. That was an example of something that the writers have added that I was just like blown away by. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say, like, so many people, when you're reading the books, you know, everybody has had that fantasy of like, what would Jamie be like in like modern days? And, you know, what would all these characters be like if they had traveled through time to now present day? And that 60s dream sequence really kind of answered that question for you a little bit by putting all these characters in a modern setting in a way that didn't like make them go through the stones, because like, you know, having Marcelly be like, oh, look, I can go through the stones too, it would be a little too shark jumping, but it was totally a believable way of doing that. So I was like, oh, like round of applause for them for thinking of doing that.
Yeah. I called it, in my review, I called it her Fortress of Solitude is kind of what I named those, of like, because that's something in the book where she knows that they're coming. Like she's warning them. She's like, they're coming. Like if you haven't killed me yet, do that. Like they are coming for you. And of her, I just remember like multiple times in that scene where she's like, Jamie Fraser, where are you? And she keeps saying that, and that's what's getting her through. And when she can like remove her mind from it, that's what she's saying is like, he's on his way. He's coming. He'll be here. He never lets me down. I'm waiting.
Right.
That's why
you could totally feel that.
Happiest thing they could. That would have been the perfect episode. Like it would be my number one favorite episode if they would have put the drums in, because that's something in the book stuff that like there's drums being played and they all hear the drums and they're like, what's that? What's that? And Claire's just like, oh shit.
I know what it is. It's funny.
About to get some.
That was Carol. The first thing out of Carol's mouth was, where are the drums? And I hadn't thought of that, but I was remembering the Gaelic aspect of it. Because in the books, you know, don't forget, these are all Scots that are coming to save her. And in the books, Jamie is so tightly wound that, you know, English is not his first language. It's Gaelic, and he can't get English words out. Like he's speaking Gaelic because he doesn't remember English at that point. And I knew that they wouldn't do that because it wouldn't fit in with the episode really, but I was kind of still like, Yeah.
But anyway, I mean that like on it when I was reviewing it too, I was just thinking, I was like, oh well, it's okay, it's good enough. Like we always will find it. But yeah, for me, probably Faith is probably one of my favorites. I can never make it through that without breaking. I don't know many people who can, but I love whenever Katrina does her thing. That's why I like this one too. And I also really love the battle joined for that reason as well, because those actors just do pain so well. Like that, it's sad to say, but that's where their most powerful acting comes out for me, where like we never see Jamie just give up on anything before that point. And then to see the start of like a 15 years where he doesn't care about anything is so gut-wrenching, but it's so like beautiful to see him do it, because I fully believe if Jamie wasn't a Catholic that he would have killed himself during this time. Like if he didn't still have a faith, if he still didn't want to get to heaven so he could be there for Claire someday, that he would have killed himself during this time. So to see that like war in him, and I feel like Sam shows it, that there's nothing in there. He's a husk without the both of them. And so anyway, those two are probably it for me. And then I mean, Sassenach is always up there too, but I've just seen it so many times now that it's lost a little bit of the ring, because every time you introduce someone to it, I gotta watch the first 3 episodes, right? Like I end up watching the first 3 episodes over and over and over.
Let's watch the first 3 again. Yay!
Yeah, I love them, but I'm also like, I gotta sit through all of this to get to. But anyway, so well, let's hop into some of the questions here. I've seen some good ones already. Let me go back a little bit. So this one keeps coming up in all my videos. So let's just go ahead and talk about this statement quick. Like, do we think that this is going to be the last season? This and 2 other questions came up so many times. So,
I hope not.
I don't think so, for sure, since they're at least like paying people for the next season. But I have thoughts about if the 6th season will actually be the last season or not. So
I thought they already recorded season 6.
No. Season 6 was supposed to start around now, and they have a few scripts done, and I think maybe the cast has seen one or 2. But they were renewed. They've been renewed. They were renewed for season 6 with season 5, so it was a 2-year renewal.
Right.
So we've known that we were going to have a season 5 and a season 6 for years.
yeah.
So the question is season 6, the upcoming season, the last season? I mean, I don't think that there's a chance that they're going to just dump season 6. Like, oh, well, we were delayed in shooting too long. No, they're going to have a season 6. Everybody's locked up for that. I believe Sam and Katrina are locked in for season 7 as well, contractually.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to put money down right now, I would say season 6 might be the last one. And I only say that because, Corona Apocalypse is not helping things, first of all.
No.
Things are, people are financially, things are not going to be as readily available as maybe they were. But the other thing is that once you get past season 6, without spoiling anything for the book readers, the stories get a little harder to tell, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If you decided to go through with book 7, for example, you would have to, there'd be a lot of actors hired.
Yeah. There should be now, but
Well, yeah. I mean, you have like all of like the rich folk, whatever, and they've done a good job of streamlining, I think. But with season, even season 6, you're gonna see a few new names. But with season 7 or book 7 and book 8, there's a lot of book there, and there's a lot of story there, and I just don't know how you like approach that, given that you have to, you're on a year-to-year basis. So I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe they do a great season 6. I always thought book 6 was a pretty good. I think Diana writes in trilogies to a certain degree.
No,
so
but I know
the first 3. Without spoiling anything, the first 3 are kind of one big story, and the second 3 are kind of one big story. Yeah. So if you had to end at the end of book 6, there are worse endings to have. But if you decide, all right, we're going to book 7, then it gets a little.
If you do 7, then you have to do 8 at least.
Yes,
because 8 has a nice ending spot, kind of too.
Yes,
which is why I'm really
yes, agreed.
We'll talk about it in the next half.
Agreed. But are we going to get 2 more seasons? I mean, 3 more seasons, 6, 7, and 8? I really doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really doubt it. I got to think that Sam and Katrina, if they're signed up for 7, maybe. But I mean, come on, they got other things they could do.
The Outlander series from after 6, because through 6, there's some war rumblings happening, but book 6 ends in 1776 with basically the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
So I'm just like in the timeline wise.
Okay.
So once you go into 7, you're basically starting to tell turn, which I don't know if you've like.
Yes. Yeah. I watched Love Turn. Loved it.
Everyone just finished it, and half of it was turn. Like everything with two certain characters is turn.
Right.
And it's really fun. But I was like,
Yep.
You're telling the Revolutionary War then, and that's big. Like it's big.
It's so big that like I mean, it takes a lot of the series, and I mean, I don't want to really say anything. I don't want to really spoil anything, but like, I don't know that we'll ever get to the outcome of the Revolutionary War in the series. Sure. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
But that, I mean, it sounds like that would be, the Declaration of Independence would be a good stopping point, because, from what you guys are saying, the Revolutionary War is so huge. It really is. And if there is a good point before all of that begins to stop and sort of, stop it and say that we're going to start a new series, or stop it and, just kind of tie everything up to be, a good sort of tie up, then that's, that would be amazing. That would be awesome.
Right. I mean, the Revolutionary War is the thread going through everything. So you kind of do feel like you need to stop. You need to have some closure for it. But don't forget, at the end of the day, it's a story about these two people and this family that they've created.
Right.
So you could be doing whatever with the Revolutionary War, as long as you know that Jamie and Claire and their family are gonna live on, or do this, or be okay. Then whatever,
Right.
The last thing I'll say on that question, then we'll hop to another one. I think the reason why people say if it was done is because, yes, the last episode of season 5 didn't end on a cliffhanger the way the last, couple seasons have. And with Claire, the last line of the show being like Claire saying she's safe. We saw like Bree and Roger walking down saying, "Oh, I took the road less traveled," and it was good. Like it kind of felt like we were having these little wrap-ups. So I understand why people who maybe don't dig into it as much as us are like, "Oh, this is what it is." But okay. So here's one that this question, I actually want us to talk about it in this half, and we're going to bring it up again because there's 2 different theories I think we'll come to based on what book knowledge people have and what TV show knowledge you have. So this is how do you explain Jamie outside the window? The big question in the Outlander fandom that everyone will ask. Diana gets it every time. I get it on every book review I have done. Someone's like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Like I should know the answer because I've read all the books. They think that there's an answer. So let's ask you, Steph, as you only being in the second book. No, I'm not trying to trick you. I just want to know what you think about it based on, like, have you ever thought about it again based on a TV show watcher? Is that something?
Not really. So,
and do you know what we're talking about?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. Yay. So I think that their connection is what makes them see each other. And the fact that Frank is related to Blackjack, and that's sort of where his tie comes in. Not that he goes through the stones or anything like that. I just think that since they have that familial connection, that's what, keeps them all together, and they're able to see each other, because in actuality, the whole first season, the first book is all about their love triangle. So I think because they're connected that way, that love triangle keeps them able to see each other regardless of what's going on with it.
Okay, nice. I just wanted a perspective of like a show person, because that's a thing that's a thing that gets shown in the first episode. It's also something in the first or second chapter of the book, and neither of those things is ever brought up again. Nope. But it's a question everyone wants to know, because it's a thread that she's left open all this time. And I have a new theory based on book information from book 7, so I'm not going to say it here. I'll talk about it in the second half. But I just want everyone ask me. And guess what, guys? There is not an answer as of yet. Before she dies, but that's it.
There will be according to Diana, there will be an answer by the time the book series is over.
Yes. This time
in book 10, which is the last one.
little thing, and I have a guess because I'm a theory, but I just wanted to know what you guys thought because I literally got it 15 times because that's the question people want to know, and I'm like, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Da-da-da. Here's another one. Anyone know if this is coming out? We do not know when it's coming out yet. She says she's done writing it. My guess is 2021. That's my personal guess. Very beginning, maybe. But it hasn't even been announced yet. And that size of a book, I feel like
it's a good year of announcements.
I would have said definitely 2020, before March, this past March. Now, given the state of the world, and like Diana, I'm sure they're going to want her to tour to promote the book. I don't know that that's going to be able to happen this year. I would say any other. My guess is it would be ready to go. It's awful. I'm like, wait, what month is this? What day is this?
I know already.
I have issues with dates, so you're not alone. You're not alone.
I don't know. I mean, my guess is like it might be 2021 only because of Corona apocalypse and the fact that everything's kind of on hold, like promotion wise.
Yeah. They got to make a business decision too. Also, there's been paper shortages in certain places as well. Something to remember, like us in the book community, we've talked about that of like, sometimes you're not being able to get books in a timely manner. And, it's going to be a big book. Wow. It's hard to point when you're opposite. So that's the thing to think about of like, you're going to make 10 million copies of this book or something. But,
and I mean, she hasn't, like, I don't remember, maybe she has, and I just am missing it. Has she come out with, normally she'll have the cover art or like, the design,
I don't know.
Like this design, whatever. I don't remember that she has yet. And those are usually all signs that, so
it's
I don't know.
Ready. Yeah, no, I haven't seen any cover art for the next book either.
The point that I put out is like, this author can, number one, basically pick her own timeline. They can't hold her to a time for this. This isn't a new thing, whatever. And number two, she's going to make sure it's the best that it can possibly be. This woman writes non-linearly, which I never effing understand how she does that. Watching talks about her, how she writes, she is a goddess. She is. But that's very complicated to put together. So in a thing at Comic-Con, she's like, I'm in the final frenzy of writing. Sure, that might be all the parts, but then she has to make sure they all fit together in time and write the stuff that together and then do all the normal stuff that an author has to do. They're not going to rush this coming out because the readership is going to be there no matter when.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my
right. And I mean, like now, that it's screwed up the timing of the show as well. I know that I think the last one I don't even remember anymore. Was the show even on when the last one came out?
No, it was in production.
So, no.
She named a character after Sam in the
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he was created, but it was still like a year from.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, there's certainly going to be a long enough Outlander to like it, this will break it up hopefully if it comes out, but.
Yeah.
Maybe by the end of the year.
Yeah. Something asked the Roger question that I want to put up because I love Roger. Can't find it on my. They asked when we think Roger could sing again based on show stuff. Well, I don't know. He seems almost perfectly healed.
I know.
Yeah.
To be.
I would say, he might be singing already.
Right? He just needs some good. Claire just needs to make him some honey tea, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Brian. I maybe he'll have a really sexy gravelly voice now instead of a high. Maybe it'll be like little fun side story that I like to tell about. Something that like bothered me a little bit is so my grandfather always used to sing Clementine to me. He would always sing that to me. Yeah, so when I read the books, and that's the song that they always sing to Jem. And in the books, when well, they do it in the show too. Like Bree's singing it to Jem, and Roger hears and he starts crying. He can't sing it anymore. Just hurts me so bad. But in the books, there's a time where like he's whisper singing it now. So hard. I left tears on my book because that's the thing about like Roger that he isn't a wuss the way the show makes him be. Sorry, here it's coming out. It's coming out.
You think he's a wuss,
man? I think they make him look a little bit wussy.
They do. I mean, we've made fun of that a little bit, like the whole like, oh yeah, we'll go and plant the fields and we'll do this, and oh wait a minute, Roger. Like they're kind of like making. I mean, Roger in the books is sort of lost too. He doesn't know what he wants to do, just like in the show. But the way it's portrayed, and maybe because of the mediums are different. Like you're hearing the lostness in his own thoughts, maybe in the book. But the only way that can come out and show the viewer what's happening is by other people reacting to it. And other people reacting to it makes him look a little,
Yeah. And I think that comes from where I was joking a little earlier of like, there's 20 minutes of like good Roger in the show. And I mean that of like, I don't know. To me, it's all a thing of that. Like, we need Jamie to be on Team Roger for anyone else to be on Team Roger. Like,
that's true.
And in the way that it should be portrayed, Jamie is never, besides that, like, first fight that they have, and then when they fight again when he gets back,
right?
Like, Jamie is proud that he steps up and, number one, marries his daughter, and number two, tries. Like, Roger always tries. He's like, teach me to fight, teach me to be a farmer, teach me how to be a Scottish man in this time. He's a scholar. He loves to learn. And it's not like he's a wimpy little wuss. Like, he's almost the same size as Jamie. He's this big, tall, strong man. He was a city man. And now he's here in his own culture and like living it. Like, he's just like, oh my God, I'm actually living here. This is happening, So
that's one of the things that I did notice about the show. I mean, like from when he finally does come through, I'm always thought, I'm like, wait a second, didn't he study all of this? Doesn't he know what all this is supposed to be about and the history behind it and things like that? Because when they're back in the 60s and things like that, and he takes her to North Carolina to sort of follow the footsteps and follow the letter and things like that, he's like, yeah, this is this and this is that. And I'm like, and then when they finally do get back to that time, he's like lost. And I'm like, but you should know all this because you've done the extensive research. Now you just need to apply, the things that you know.
It's disconnect. Like, it's a little bit of a disconnect, right? But again, I think a big part of it is that they never have Jamie like father him. They never have him be a role model.
True. Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite things. Like, I have a video going up on Sunday, which is the worst changes. And to me, he calls him son. He calls him son. He calls him not only the son of his house for war, but when he gets when he gets hung, he goes to try and says, you almost killed my son and you are going to answer for it. Like, he's so pissed off that they hurt him. And they just they skip over all of that. Like, every opportunity for Jamie to show that he's proud kind of gets taken out. And
I will say that I did like, particularly in, I think it was the Bonnet episode when they were at the what's his name, Wiley's pier dock. Yes, when Jamie allowed Roger to try. When he was like fighting off that, Bonnet's dude or whatever. And Jamie not only didn't do anything at first, but held Ian, I guess, back. Like, let him go. And the minute, Jamie, because Jamie knew when he needed to step in. Jamie knew it was like, okay, he's had enough. Like, boom, clock the guy or whatever. But he allows Roger to try, but makes it you know, a safe space for him. Like, that's so modern day and icky, but it's like a safe space for him to really try and learn,
right?
And then steps in when he sees that he needs to, you know. So, and I mean, Jamie's not like necessarily the kind of guy who's going to be, you know, he's no Mike Brady. He's no like, you know, son, you know, I'm proud of you. Da, 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 da.
It takes him a lot to say you did a good job. So, you know.
Yeah, and it's more that for me of that there should be a little bit of signs, and I don't think that they show any of those signs. He always just seems kind of annoyed with him. He seems like, man, I have to try to make the best out of this because he's my daughter's husband. Until that moment, I was
right.
Like,
I think you saw an arc over the season. I think if you binge the whole thing in a day, it would be clearer, because you're right. At the very beginning, the first couple episodes, like, we made fun of it. It was so obvious that Jamie was like, "Oh yeah, Roger, what are we gonna do about him?"
But when they're getting married, and he's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "You've been the one who was like gonna marry you to Ian. He wanted you married so badly," and then you're like, "Are you sure?"
But you know, over the course of the season, you really did see a progression of Jamie's respect for him building, admiration for him building, and love for him building. You really did, I think.
That's fair, Tracey. I just want
because you love Roger so much. But I will say, my respect for him did not build when they fought the plague of locusts.
I know.
I wasn't a fan of the snake scene either. I was like, "Hey, Wimpy, come on, Roger."
Don't make fun of the snake scene. The snake scene is awesome.
Yeah,
really? Because I'm like, really, Roger? You have that snake head in your back pocket for so long. I was like, why aren't you showing Claire that you have the snake head? Show her the snake head.
I mean, Bree's a whole nother story for me too. Like, I'll stick with the Roger. It's just that him saying they need to go home every second. That's a whole arc that I don't like, of them wanting to leave. This is their family. Like, they have no one back in the future. They have no one back.
Yeah, I don't.
That's why when they went through the stones, they came right back. So
I'm with you on that. I don't like Roger always being put in the position of like, Roger's why they went back or why they attempted to go back. You know, that was, and like, you know, Bree's so perfect in the past and whatever, but Roger just can't hack it in the future or in the past. So he needs to be back in his own time. Yeah, that was kind of like, Roger was kind of thrown under the bus for that. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know that was really fair.
Yeah. Well, it just feels like he's trying to run from Stephen Bonnet the whole time. And that's not really as much of a thing in the books. Like, he's just as ready to go get him.
Right.
He's never like, the reason we need to leave is because of this guy.
Right. Like, exactly. Yeah, that's a big difference in the books. And yeah, it didn't make Roger look that great. So
no. That's just what I meant to say. Sorry, I got diverted. My main issue with it is that, to me, a major character point of Jamie is he's someone that he gives every person a base level of respect. Like, every person he meets, until you prove otherwise, he has a base level of respect for people. That's just something I have come to know about him from the books, is there's just that you are a human, you're valuable to this point, until you either try to hurt my family or I'm facing you in war or one of these things. Like, you have a base level of respect. And that's why, for me, his relationship with Roger in the books is so cool, because he comes in with this base level of respect for him, but then it keeps growing. Whereas I feel like the show is Jamie has no respect for him and it's growing over the show. So that's the difference that I see.
I have a question for you. Do you think that it's because, and I mean, again, the same thing happens in the books, you know, Jamie meets Roger in the exact same way, where Roger and Ian go off and look for him because they think he's raped. He's the rapist of Bree. Yeah. But do you think in the show, you know, and all sorts of crap ensues because of that? And Jamie, you know, do you think in the show, like Jamie is kind of resentful at Roger for like just And again, like subconsciously, like
Mhm.
causing all of that, or not, maybe not even resentful is the wrong word. Like maybe like still feels so guilty about it that he's like kind of channeling that guilt on Roger in a way.
Sure. In the show, you're meaning?
Yes.
I don't know.
I think he does feel a little guilt on the fact that he wasn't like, he allowed Roger, found understanding in the fact that it wasn't Roger that did those horrible things to Bree. But then the fact that Roger's not able to avenge Bree, but at the same time, he's not able to avenge Bree. So he's like, he feels guilt over the fact that neither one of them.
Right. Well, also, guilt at selling Roger to the Mohawk and just the horrible things that happened to Roger. That was Jimmy's fault. I mean, I don't think he was really like tell him.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I think, I don't know. If that's what the show is trying to say, I don't feel that that is expressed. Like I could see that being a resentment that's held. Whether that's something that like, Sam as doing his research is keeping in his head, that's just something he's doing. But I also think the show doesn't give them enough interactions. That's a huge thing for me. I don't think Bree and Ian talked enough times in this. If they're having Ian be back, they didn't talk enough. They didn't have Jamie and Roger have enough conversations. They didn't have Bree and Jamie have enough conversations. Like that's a big thing for me, is I feel like we put groups in couples and then they never like intermingled with people. So I was realizing in the finale when they have that very moving scene where Ian is asking if he can fix something, that I realized that Bree and Ian talked exactly twice in the entire time Ian was back.
Wow.
That's Roger and Ian. Yes, they have this scene where they say hello, where like Roger hugs Ian and it's kind of awkward because he can't talk.
Right.
And then they talk in the stream before she's going to leave. And those are the only two times they talk.
That is right.
Bree and Ian have a beautiful relationship. And I mean, it's just my complaint in the whole thing. It's like they don't talk to each other enough. And I don't know. We spend too much time with Murtaugh and Yocasta and Forbes and Bonnet and not enough time with my people.
Right. Well, I mean, and again, it's like I said, the whole Plague of Locusts thing. That was 25 minutes that we could very easily have spent on other stuff. Even Bree and Roger's wedding. I mean, it was a lovely wedding, but it was one whole episode, and like literally it was a half hour before it even started the wedding. And then the walk down the aisle was probably 7 minutes. And it was just like, again, I want to see all of this, but like there's so much to get to in these books. And, we can't spend 10 minutes of like watching people, dance at the wedding. We just can't do it.
Yeah. Well, and it would have been nice if the wedding had done the things that the gathering does. Like if it had, not that we are able to, because so Steph, in book 5, the entire first part, how she has like 10 parts in each book? Diana has like, the first part is about 200 pages and it is one day. And you get to see, it's very good. It's a very bad, no good, horrible, bad day.
Yes,
is what
the gathering. At Outlander Purgatory, we like to say, Lord, the gathering.
So if this wedding,
my fans watching will know that and will have said it with me.
No, that's
the gathering.
If it had more happening than just the wedding, even if it could have just like, they didn't have to call it the gathering, but if they'd had more stuff going on than just the wedding, I would have felt more satisfied. But they don't set up like the religious stuff very well. That's the time to start. Who do they changed something too. Someone's religion isn't the same.
Well, Roger's not a Catholic, right?
Oh, and them, what?
Roger's not a Catholic.
No, he's Protestant, isn't he?
He's Protestant.
He is.
Yeah, Roger's Protestant.
And then they don't have the thing about like the priests, like that's supposed to be Jocasta's wedding too, right? And they sneak the babies in to get baptized.
Yes. A
lot of how religion is a thing because that's an important part.
Because Jamie gets gem baptized.
Yep.
I totally forgot about that.
And Germain to get baptized because it's illegal to be Catholic there.
Right.
And the priest gets arrested. And there's more stuff. Yeah, we find out about Bonnet. We discuss about Governor Tryon. And I feel like we don't like set up enough stuff. So it feels like that's a wasted hour.
Right.
And then we have to start up later.
Right. The other episode that was, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was a great episode, and the acting was superb. But the Beardsley episode, the episode at the Beardsley cabin, that was the Locust episode. The Locust was the B story. The Beardsley. And
No,
I can't talk about some stuff, but you know, I'm kind of scratching my head as to like why they spent so much time on that storyline.
Because it was cinematic. That is one of my like non-book, when I'm not comparing to the book, that's one of my favorite episodes because I really love conversation had and how Jamie, oh gosh, the last 5 minutes of that episode, you know, but yeah, it's super, super intense. Yeah. Okay. So, wow, that went by so fast. We're starting our like switch over now. Nicole's in the background here. Steph, thank you so much. Sorry, we ended up talking book more than show anyway. I knew it was going to happen.
Oh, no, it's fine. I had an amazing time. Now it's going to push me to go and read these books that I already have. So just
keep reading.
So I can be all into it next time.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Push through France.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have my friend Nicole joining.
Hi.
And we have Jessie here too. Yay! Here we go. I like 4 better than 3. It's not as cool.
You get more background when it's even.
Right. It looks wonderful. Well, welcome, ladies. We're kind of do the same intro for you guys. So I'm going to warn everyone though. Now we're going to switch to full spoilers for everything. So if you don't want to know those things, you should drop out. If you do, you're like me, don't care about spoilers, that's fine. I also forgot a very important announcement, and I feel bad. So down in the description of this video, everybody, I actually have a giveaway going on. There's a Google form for you to fill out, and I'm giving away 3 gift cards to people who are in this stream today to watch it. So I should have announced that at the start, but if you're going to leave because you don't want book spoilers, hop down into the description of this live show, and there's a Google form, and if you'll fill that out, you may get a gift card to Amazon because I just like being Santa Claus when we can't go to Barnes & Noble because you're stuck at home. So,
that's awesome.
Anyway, sorry. But Jessie, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. Nicole.
So nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I was looking for other Outlander booktubers, and I actually already follow you for BookTube, and I saw that you had an Outlander series review, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can ask her to do this. This will be great.
Oh yes. Yes, I'm Jessie. For those of you who haven't seen me before, I have a BookTube channel that really just focuses a lot on any book genre. I mostly read in the fantasy space, and that's kind of what initially attracted me to Outlander. I heard the word time travel and was like, okay. And then I heard that there was a hot Scotsman named Jamie, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
and it had me hooked. It had me hooked from book 1. So I typically talk about fantasy on my channel, but I go over all the book genres. I love them all. So.
Yes. All right, Nicole, your turn.
I'm Nicole. My channel name is Who Picked This Book, and I know Jen from we have a romance group that we talk on Voxer like all the time, and so when she said that she was doing this live stream, I was like, yeah, I've read the books, and of course I want to join in because love Outlander so much.
Yeah. How long Jessie, when did you read them, and like how long did it take you?
Yeah, I started reading Outlander 2 years ago, actually. So I was really late getting into the Outlander game. Like all of the 8 books had already been released. So, and I actually didn't know that the series was continuing on. I thought this was like a completed series, and I was like, oh, great, I can binge it all, get all the story. And then I'm like, wait, there's more. And then when I initially started it, I had no idea that almost every book was over 1,000 pages. Basically, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I'm so glad I got myself into it. So yeah, I was like, there it is. Yes, they are chunky. So yeah, I started reading them 2 years ago, and I would read on average like one a month. So I would kind of space them out where I'd get one a month and was able to complete them like early last year.
Nice. Okay. Nicole?
So I read the first book back when I was still in high school. It was my senior year of high school. So 2007, it literally just came out like 2 years previous. I think it came out in like 2005 or something. And so that's when I first read the first book. And then I never continued on with the series. Why? I don't know. And then the show was coming out. And so when I saw that on Starz that the show was coming out, I was like, okay, well, I have to reread the first one because it's been so long. And then I got to read all the books. So I think it was 2 years ago. I buddy read with my friend Jen, who is, she does a bunch of live streams with me on my channel. And then also another, she used to be a booktuber, not anymore. Her name is Kelsey. And we took the whole year and we read up into Written in My Own Heart's Blood. So we did that.
Nice. I was going to say, it was like the first book came out in 1990, I think, though.
Oh,
1991.
They released the covers or something. I don't know. But
you're
they're
right.
years old, I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
2005, because I got the book when it was like the new release, like it's like the big floppy books where it's like the new cover. So yeah, 2005 is when that was re-released. So
okay. So here I asked, do you guys have one? What's your favorite book of the series? Do you have one, or do you consider them all together? Or
I would say the first book is absolutely my favorite. It's just because like you're introduced to this, this family, this couple, and it's just the way she tells the story is also really amazing, and also like the time travel aspect, and I love a good time travel. But so like definitely the first book, it just hits differently with me, especially because it's the book that I've read the most. I think I've reread it a total of 3 times, and all the other books I've only read like the one time. So I remember the most about that book, but so yeah, it's in there.
Okay. Tracey, how about you?
For me, it's Voyager. Chapters 24 through 26, I could read from now until the day I die.
Oh.
It's so wonderful. And I'm one of these people who, besides those chapters, I really love you. You guys know that the books are always divided into specific sections. Mm-hmm. The section called On the Water, where they are they're sailing from Scotland to America. Mm-hmm. I just love that section. And I'm not even sure. Stuff happens, but it's just so Jamie and Claire. That's all I can say. It's like, the reunion happens, and then all the other shit at Lolly Brow happens, but then they're on the water, and that finally sort of reconnect. You get like turtle soup, and you get all these
my god, yes.
scenes. Because that's really where they're coming back together after 20 years. They had the reunion and whatever. So I love that book, but Outlander is close behind because for all reasons that you said, it's the first one. It's the one that hooks you. It's the one that grabs you. You can't put it down. The relationship between the two of them. It's also it's hard to get into. I don't know if you guys found this, but the first 50 pages are like an old Howard play. Like, oh, spot of tea on the veranda.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not till you get to like 200 pages that it's really like, okay. Yeah. So those two, I would say Wrath of Snow and Ash also for the scenes that we saw in 512 in the last episode of the season. Yep. That whole sequence is riveting. It gave me a panic attack in the middle of Manhattan one time when I was reading it the first time. It's a wonderful book. And then the rest of them like in varying degrees, but they're all awesome.
Sure. Jessie?
My favorite is Written in My Own Heart's Blood. I don't know if that's a super popular opinion, but I just feel like there's so much to get through to get to that point in their journey. And for me, like some of the middle books kind of were a lot slower in pace. Like you have to deal with like the Fiery Cross, I felt like was probably my least favorite because that was just a lot of setup and kind of filler. But to get through all of that and to get to the 8th book where finally all of these different threads are starting to all collide and come together, and you're seeing every character now is connected and all together. And so it's just, for me, that's where like Diana really connected so many of her characters and threads. And it was such a payoff to get there because you had to get through so much of what felt like kind of filler at times to get to that point. But I would say my second favorite is the first book, just because of what you all said. It's the setup of Jamie and Claire. I mean, all of that. Like my favorite romances to read are the initial romance between two people and they're learning about their chemistry, them learning about each other. So that Outlander book is definitely my second favorite.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's how I'm feeling about Rachel and Ian right now, because that's the end of Echo. But anyway, okay, my favorite is Drums of Autumn because of all the different threads that have to do with parents and children. I really like Diana's her dedication at the front is to her dad, where she says this book ended up being a lot about fathers, so she dedicates the book to her dad. And I just really, really love all the different relationships. We get to see Willie and Jamie interact for the first time in a while. We get to see how John is a parent to him. We get to see Bree get to meet Jamie. That's probably my I love Bree's interactions with Lord John when she first meets him. I love getting to see like Ian become a man and like be a man of worth. Oh gosh, I'm gonna like cry thinking about it right now. So that book, I've read that one probably the most times actually. And on this reread, I'm surprised that as I read each new book, that the first book is actually my least favorite, which but they're so close. I know, controversial.
Wow.
But my reason, I have a couple reasons. And number one, I do love an initial romance booktuber. Obviously, I love that. But for me, because I know where their relationship goes and how deep their souls are entwined together, seeing Claire not trust Jamie, like it hurts me, even though I know it's going to be okay. Like when he runs from him at different points, trying to get back to Frank, who I just hate so much. That book is so frustrating now. I mean, it being my least favorite is like splitting hairs. But even in Dragonfly and Amber, watching how now they are committed and like how they're dealing with new marriage issues, that's great. And then in Voyager, they're reconnecting. And then in Drums, we really get to see them settling into what their relationship is going to be for the next ever. And so that's really where a lot of things like solidify for me. I also love frontiering books. So I like when they're building the ridge and bringing people in. And I like when the ridge is still just like 4 people and, you know, Jamie's building her a house. Like I just get the warm fuzzies for that. So that's kind of my reasoning. But again, like each in like book after, like I loved the Fiery Cross this time, but I understand what you mean. Like I totally get what you mean that it's a dragon places. But I love it. Like, I love when Jamie's hurt and Roger helps him and the whole leg controversy. I love when, like, Roger's hurt and we see Jamie's defense of him and him being like, you know, and him when Jamie explains to Bree what's happening in Roger's head, like, Bree goes to her dad for advice. And I just love it when he's like, he's a man and he's dealing with these issues, Bree, and you won't understand them. And he's like, well, how do you and mama do it? And he's like, you think your mom doesn't wish I wasn't so like this sometimes? It bothers her, but I just love when we get to see him parent them. Like,
there's such beautiful scenes in every single book that are so memorable.
Yes. So I just vomited out a bunch, but yeah. And then like in Echo, my favoriteest has been watching Ian just because he's 27 in that book. I've been writing down people's ages at the beginning of each one now. Because in your head, in your head, he's
go back and do that.
But I'm like, nope, he's 27 now. Bree's 33. Roger's this, you know, like I have to write down how old everybody is. And like that's the same age that I am, as Ian is. And him struggling with if he can love someone and just.
I love Ian.
Rachel and Ian. Okay. I'm talking about every book. But my next question I sent you guys was, what's your favorite Jamie moment? Can you pick one?
Oh God. I know.
So hard.
Honestly,
it's really hard.
It's so hard.
Oops, sorry.
It just mine just comes to mind because it was just in and I've been having some weird, like you guys disappeared. I don't know.
Yeah, you're freezing a little bit, but
you can all see me. But
I can hear you. You're just frozen.
All right, yeah. I just if I go away, that's why. So anyway, just because because it was just the other with the microscope and the sperms. Was hilarious. We call it the toast scene because he's in the books, he's eating a piece of toast and just the stuff with the toast is how and the way Diana like describes him eating toast and like kind of seeing the sperms mid-bite and like you almost want to do a spit take. Where it's perfect. It's like the perfect scene because it's really, which Outlander is a lot of the time. It's so classic Jamie and Claire where you see what's different about them, obviously. You see their react stuff. You see Claire with that kind of dry wit a little bit. That's really great. That you don't always get. But just Jamie, like here he is, this big Scottish warrior. He's a soldier. He's a leader of men. He is being totally taken down by, something in a microscope.
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't even remember that. Yeah. What did I forget?
Yeah. We were just reminded of it in the show.
I love that. Oh my God. I need to go watch the show.
I know.
I don't know.
I never in a million years thought that would make air, that scene.
Really?
Carol and I always thought it was like, we used to really love it's so funny. But there is I guess some people did, other people like it too. So
yeah, it was funny. Okay. What about you, Nicole? Can you think of one?
It's so hard. But I always, whenever I just think of Jamie, I always think of one scene in particular. It's back in the first book. I always gravitate back towards that first book. And it's just that after everything that happened and Claire just like bears her soul and tells him like everything and all the truth that he takes her back and just like, this is where you wanted to go. And, I can't stand in your way. And, and just that beautiful scene where she comes back and she's like basically chose him and chose to stay with him. And he's just so happy. I was like, oh my God, I love you so much. Yeah. He's just, that scene always gets me. It's just so beautiful. And you can tell like just how much like he loves her so much.
Yeah. Oh. Good.
Yeah.
Jessie's crying right now.
I feel like I have two like very opposite Jamie moments that I love that like stick out in my mind. Like first is very sweet, sentimental father Jamie, where he first meets Brianna, right? That's like so pivotal in the books. And I just love that he was like peeing beforehand. Like so great.
They did that in the show.
They did. They kept it in the show.
I've actually seen that scene because I watched that on YouTube because I just had to see how the show interpreted it. So great. So I love that scene with him and Brianna for the first time. And the second one, it sounds so bad because it's like not even a great Jamie moment, is when in the first book, Claire runs away and is captured and all of them have to go save Claire. And they bring her back and Jamie's like, well, you gotta be punished. And like spanks her.
Oh yeah.
That stuck out in my mind so much because I just loved Claire's reaction. Like, are you kidding?
She's like, what?
Just
You're gonna
that
do what?
dynamic between them during that scene was so much fun. And I'll just always remember that scene in the book because I loved Claire and I loved Jamie.
Great moment because like I love what comes of that.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Jamie is so willing to like he's never been married before. He's only 22 years old. This is what old he's supposed to do, and his wife like got a lot of people in danger. So he's like, I have to do this.
Yeah, like,
it might be kind of fun for me.
Right.
I like it, but then when he's willing to be like, hey, that isn't going to work for us.
Yeah.
So I won't ever do it again.
I love that. Yeah, and when he like consoles her afterwards, it's just so I love that. I just love that.
I've also read a lot more like BDSM at this point, so I'm just all like, ooh, he liked it a little bit.
I was just thinking that, Jen. I was just like,
The first time I read the book, I never read it, and I was like, oh my god! And now I'm just like, meh.
Right. Right. It's like, how dare he strike her? But now I'm like, girl, get it. I mean,
yeah. Anyway, I would call him sir. I'm just okay. My favorite moment is from Echo, and it is so Bree and Roger have went back. They are trying to pack up what's left on the ridge. Everything's in shambles now. And Jamie has this moment in his POV where he says, God, let me be enough for her, because they're so sad to lose them. And he sees Claire like she has to like leave ADSO. She has to leave ADSO. And she's crying over the kitten. And she's like, I'm crying over the cat. And he's like, because you couldn't cry over the bairns because you couldn't show them how much it hurt.
right.
But you can cry over your wee kitty. And I started laughing because I was gonna cry, but now she's like crying over this cat, and he's like, because I can't cry, I couldn't cry for them either, and I don't have a cat. And I'm just, and then he's thinking like, let me be enough for her. And I think the whole book of Echo is them like proving that they are enough for each other.
Right.
But yeah, like, but he just, in every book, there's always a moment where like someone just died, or they're just like, they're doing something totally random, and Diana will just lay one of these Jamie things on you, and you're like, oh, I'm broken.
Hello, Jamie.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Some people are throwing up questions now. Here's an interesting one. Okay, if Claire time traveled to the future instead and found a Jamie of the future, what would that be like? Do you think it would be just as effective or romantic? Interesting. I don't think it works the same.
No.
Because the things that make Jamie who he is the time period and the manliness.
Right.
And I don't think we have that the same in the future.
I agree, like 100%.
No.
It's like there's a different, it's like seriously.
You sound like,
back then it was like a different type of man.
Yeah.
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 And it's
Maybe
just
it's
like
a robot. Maybe Jamie's a robot.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's also just like the stakes of the past that they're living in, right? Like the stakes are so high because that time period was so dangerous. I mean, especially for women. My God, you read it and you're like, I would never want to time travel back to this. No. So it's also just like the stakes of their setting that just add so much tension and chemistry between them, because it's like life and death so much of the time that's what makes them so special.
And I think it has to do with like Claire doesn't really like bring anything like if she's going forward in time, like what she brings going back, she brings skills that people haven't seen. That's why she's seen as being a witch. It's an interesting thought experiment. Like that could be a fun like writing prompt. What if it happened this way? Yeah. But I don't think it works the same for what she brings to him. Like that's why they meet, is because she's saving.
Right. You lose the Scottish accent.
What?
You lose the Scottish. even the difference between Scottishness now then, you know, is you know, there's no clans anymore. So all of that, and I just think it would be diluted even more in the future.
Good thoughts. Okay, now this question in the book time, which I said I had a theory. I'm taking the pin out of the pin I put in it, and I'm going to tell you what I think, and I want to hear what you guys think about this. So, on finishing Echo, there are a few things I noticed this time that I didn't last time. The first thing I noticed is that Jamie has very vivid dreams of the children.
Yeah.
He can dream them. He can dream things that's happening around them that Claire has never explained. He sees like future things that she's never told him about. And so he's able to see them like real time, see what they're doing like in a dream. So that's the first little connection thing I saw. The other thing that I think is really interesting is that Jem and Mandy have like not telekinesis. This isn't X-Men, but they can understand what's happening to the other person, which I never fully paid attention to the first time. And this time I'm like lasering in on it. Because the last scene we see of Jem in Echo is like, he's stuck in the train, is it in the train?
Yeah.
Stuck underground or like in the whatever.
It's like a tunnel. The mining tunnel.
He realizes Mandy's like that, and that they might go after Mandy, but she's just a bit, you know, like he's thinking all these things. So, but anyway, the thing about like Jamie being in that place, my thought is at this end, whatever it'll be, which I believe will be like them dying together. I hope they die together. Or else, my other thought is when he had his like near-death experience, you know, he says he like sees where he could leave if he wanted to, but he chooses to stay with her. Is if that happens again, like let's say either he dies before her, they both die at the same time, and he goes back to their very beginning to just see her and like know like this is still like gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, right?
That's just my thought. I don't think it's even as big of a thing as it's made. Like I don't think he time traveled. I don't think any of that. I do believe it's a ghost. And I believe it's him like on his way to heaven, like stopping and looking at her and knowing it's gonna happen in like this. So my guess that it's
I like that.
It will happen, you know.
And it's also like I love that Diana has left this open-ended as of right now. I'd almost be okay with her never answering it, because I personally like open-ended questions where you can theorize your own ideas and answers. So I love that she's posed this question since like, isn't it in like chapter 1 or 2? It's crazy how early on it is that it happens. I totally agree with you. I don't think he time travels. I don't think that's going to be possible for him. I feel like we would have explored that already if he could. So I totally agree that it's a ghost. And I think that maybe kind of on your point of on his way to heaven, I think he doesn't go to heaven. Like he doesn't go beyond until that time period comes up and he can watch over his future family. Like he stays on Earth kind of in this like purgatory limbo state as a spirit on Earth to like watch over his family, because he knows what time period they're going to be in, so he knows exactly how long he has to wait, and then he'll, you know, go to the beyond or whatever it may be. So I definitely agree with you that it's a spirit of some kind.
I don't think
it's that theory.
I
like that theory.
I just think there's hints of it in like different times, where I think it's in the 6th book too, where he says like, I don't want to plan for your death. I'm not planning for what I'm going to do after I lose you. Like I'm going to go first. Like he says that. He's like, I'm not moving here before you. And he's like, I'll wait for you. So.
Right. I had a theory early on, and I don't know how, the more time goes by, the less I believe in it. Anyway, which is that Claire was never supposed to be in the 20th century. That Claire was like that. This time, the 18th century is really her time. To the point where you don't really know about her parents. It's very mysterious. You never hear anything, and like they were all in a car accident and her parents died in it and she didn't? And was that car accident really some time travel? Like, were her parent, you know, did her parents know about time traveling? Were they all travelers? Was Uncle Lam part of it and he survived with her? The parents did not, and just kind of like started their life that way. But she was never supposed to be in the 20th century. She was always supposed to be in the 18th century. And the ghost is kind of calling her back almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. The more books that are written, the less I think it's going to happen. But
well, and that's also the night before, right? It's the day before she goes back. So that's like the eve of Samhain. So that's when, you know, the veil's the thinnest or whatever. So
yeah,
you know, it's him like being like, oh, this is the night. You know,
that was his opportunity.
Yeah, it's all gonna happen now. You know, like I just love it. I think they are the most just because. So that's the thing where I think it's kind of cool that the one time I'll say this, that the show has the fake out return where they have them say like, I was thinking of home, and they say here, that's what happens in the show at this last one is they do a fake out return for Bree and Roger. And the reason that it like bugged me that they like did that is because they didn't set it up in season 4. The reason Bree doesn't tell Roger what she's doing isn't because they had a fight. It's because she wants someone there to come back to. So she, when he shows up, she's like, what did you do? I'll never be able to go back because you're the only thing I care about in the future. So what's cool about the episode that happens is it's like proving that. But I don't feel like they set it up beforehand. So it's like, you just faked everyone out and it was annoying. But in the book, I think there's precedent for that of like, the reason Claire gets drawn back to the moment that she does is like, Jamie's her home. She just doesn't know that yet. Yeah, that's why she went back to that. Galis went to a different time because like, she's trying to get to something else. And everyone else who time travels, they don't get drawn as specifically as like the Fraser group does because they're all going to people. Whereas everyone else who time travels is going to events or they do it accidentally. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that makes total sense.
This time. Is that something you're noticing? But
total sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the time, it's so confusing. And like, I'm really excited to read Moby this time because I'm going to pay attention to the Roger and Buck stuff. Like, I totally forgot that it was Buck. And it was super fun seeing him in like that they had because they have the same guy who plays Dougal come back as Buck.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And I was like, oh my God, if they get to this point, I so want this to happen because to see him in modern day, because we have someone go to the future and I don't understand. Like, is he able to go because because Roger and Bree are there? Like, it's down to his family. So I need to pay more attention this time to that one because I don't understand Buck.
Yeah.
Coming forward. Like, he's the first person I've seen come forward. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, I guess it's possible. Now, I did you expect that fake out was going to happen? Because I was really thinking like, oh my God, they're going to make Roger and Bree kind of go backwards in time, and we're going to get a lot of the Moby storyline. It's going to be Roger and Bree instead of Roger and Buck.
I thought it.
I was like,
first cliffhangered it.
Weird.
But during the week in between, I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way that they actually will. And one of my viewers was like, I think that Jem runs to Ian or Rolo. Like he sees puppies, so he like runs to the puppy. And I was like, oh God.
Right.
So I was panicked in the moment.
Kind of the same.
Yeah. I was panicked in the moment, but then the next day I was like, no, it's going to be a fake. But then that made me even more upset. But then I was like, okay, you're not actually ruining the story that much, so I won't be as mad. Like I went through a lot of emotions that night.
Yeah. No, we didn't. You know, we had all sorts of theories. Not more think. Oh, they didn't go anywhere. They're exactly. They ended up exactly where they started off. Not once. And I just kept hearing that rumor all week, and I was like, of course, makes total sense because Roger has to be there to help with the Claire thing.
Yeah. Well, and also it just would have broken so many things if they didn't have a reason to go. Like if they were really just going because we're scared Jem will get a scratch and die, like that's not enough reason when every family member they have is in this time. There isn't, like, the only reason they can go with Mandy is like they have to. So they have to go because they have to do it for Mandy. They never want to really leave. They don't ever really want to leave, even once they know Jem can travel. Still dangerous to take Rogers for no reason.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. When Roger says, and he said in the show too, when he's, we will stay. He makes the decision for the family. We will stay. Well, he means it. He means it. He means the TV show, but he means the book forever. Not just like we'll stay and help you through the next couple of days before we leave another attempt. No, we're here for good.
Yeah.
That was my understanding from the book. Was Roger for a long time was very hard character to get behind, and he really had incredible growth in the book. And that final resolution of them being able to stay permanently, that was my understanding, was they were going to stay permanently if they could, and it was only because of Mandy's situation that they had to leave. That wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about this? Is another question I love debating. So I'm a little peeved that also I'm peeved about everything. I know. Getting more drunk as this goes on too, so it's cute. Because, so in the book, by the end of book 6, I am 100% sure that Jem belongs to Roger.
Yeah.
You all agree with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think they proved that.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was a rhetorical question, but also...
Okay.
Do you think the show, is it enough with Jem being able to hold the rock? Do you think that Roger's his? Because I really don't like that we're unsure who Jem belongs to before Bonnet is dead. Like, that's a very important thing to me in the book, that when, like, by the time Bonnet stuff is happening, we already know who Jem's is. Like, we're sure. Yeah. And in the show, they haven't done any of the things. Like, when we look at the sperms, like, that leads into, like, DNA talk, doesn't it? And then, like, the birthmark on Jem.
On his...
Right.
Yeah, I love the talking.
Well, and it doesn't help.
Roll your tongue. And he's like, yeah, he's got balls. And he's like, what are those? He's like, they're bigger than mine, Jem. They haven't done any of those things. So,
oh no,
it doesn't help that the little child playing that is spitting image of Stephen Bonnet.
I know. He should.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Know who his dad
is like toe-headed as the day is long.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we make fun of that all the time. Like, wow. I mean, he looks just like Stephen Bonnet. So yeah, to your point, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly, I think, like, oh, look, he just made the stone explode. He must be your son. Okay. Well, especially Claire to fall or something like that. Claire, the scientist, might want to be like, we probably want to do a little more testing, but it's a good sign.
Yeah. I wouldn't be okay with that. I would be upset. I haven't seen any of this season, so I'm not sure. Like, when you're saying like who they cast as Jem looks exactly like Stephen Bonnet, I would be so livid because like you need those things, and also like for Brianna, because that's something that she agonizes over as well before she knows for certain too. So it's and the fact that he can just explode the rock, but no, because he's still half Brianna's. Like, she has the ability to time travel too. So I don't think for the show to carry on, like, that's the only conclusive evidence that we have. No.
Yeah. Well, and there's such a also the episode that they do with Bonnet and Bree, even though it's all blah, blah, I thought it was acted fabulously great. But one of my the most powerful lines like Bree has, because Bree is my favorite character this read through. Favorite. Like, her and Ian are like this close. Because Jamie and Claire never count to me because they're my favorite. But I mean, like, whenever I say favorite, yes, Jamie and Claire.
Of course.
But they're like this. Because Bree, she's pregnant with Amanda, and he's going to rape her again. But he's but Bonnet doesn't do things maliciously in the books. He's just a dick. He's just an asshole. And he says, Leroy needs to gallop. That's the line in the book. And so she's like, I'm pregnant. And I will know whose baby this is if it kills me. And he like feels her boobs and is like, oh yeah, you're pregnant. Okay, I'll sleep with the whore instead. And it isn't this thing of like, look, I'm sleeping with someone else and I'm a 2-pump chump. Don't you wish you got some? Like, what the hell? That's what it is in the show. Like, really, he does this hooker because he thinks it's making her feel bad. I don't know.
What?
I know, but anyway,
it's like she's so sad.
That episode
she's so sad that he's gonna go sleep with the hooker.
Yeah, because he's like trying to make her prove she loves him. It's a whole mess. Because the thing for me, the fundamental difference between Bonnet show, Bonnet book, he's all about money, and he is all about like what is the easiest thing for me to do.
Right.
Yeah.
He isn't this like conniving. He's out to make a buck. You know.
He's not Jonathan Randall.
Yeah, like he's not sadistic. That's a great way to put it. And though Ed Splitters is a wonderful actor, that whole scene where he's like trying to, because I mean, I like it in the book where literally like he's like, no, I'm not gonna rape you again, but I need to sleep by someone because I have nightmares. So he like scoops her up and is like holding her and then tells her about his dream, and she sings the bastard to sleep.
And she feels bad for. She feels maternal towards him almost.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to this. In season 4, I hated myself for loving him. But I loved him in season 4. He was riveting. He was likable, even as he was raping Bree and showing or whatever. It was still like I was like, I love him. I'm sorry. Season 5, something happened, and they, and you know, God was Ed Splitters because he passed with what he was given, but they just made him a psychopath, and they didn't wasn't believable in the slightest. And I lost. Like I'm not really into him anymore. And so, and you know, that episode, you know, that final with Bonnet was just. It was a head scratcher for me, and it was kind of awful because, you know, he just took this character who was really fascinating in books. He was fascinating, multi-leveled, not a villain, definitely a villain, but multi-leveled and interesting in the way Black was interesting.
Yeah,
and just made him like this, you know, mustache twirling psycho. Yeah, I was not happy with that either.
They made it like personal attacks. Like, in the book, he's telling her because he wants money. He's like, well, I'm not going to get what I need, so I'm going to sell you for money. There isn't this like sadism twisted into him. He's just a bad guy, and he owns it. Like he's trying to be a gentleman. He's trying to do this stuff. I know we're being all confusing the two of them for you guys, but they just go a very different way with him, and it bugs me. And it also bugs me because we don't know, the show hasn't proven who Jemmys is before this point. If they proved who he was before this point, then Bree's going into this and she's like, he's not yours. Like he's not, like you're not doing this the right way. And they try to use the whole thing, well, like he could still prove it in court. And I was like, what? Bonnet's not gonna try to go to court. He's a smuggler. He's pissed off everybody. But instead of the show, he's paid off everybody. And I'm like, no, this dude's not that smart to do that. Why would he waste money paying people off?
Right.
Yeah, that really made
He doesn't care about a kid. I mean, even like you know, the whole run business. Like he doesn't care that he has a kid. He doesn't. He probably has. I said this on our show. He probably doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
Bad for Bree because she was probably the only one that just had to go to him in jail. So it's like, okay, here's a off. Bye. But, like he doesn't want a father.
Yep. And when he tries to kidnap Jem in the books, it's to get to the gold. Right?
Yes.
Right.
He's like, oh, come to daddy. But he's like, because he wants to kidnap him, not because he wants to like prove he's the heir or whatever. Like just
it's completely using him just to be able to get more money for himself. I feel like in the show, just what I've seen, because I've seen I haven't seen all of season 4, none of season 5, but I feel like he's a little too clever in the show. In the books, he wasn't like clever at all. He's just like,
No.
he never really thought ahead. It was kind of like, okay, well, I need this, so I'm going to use this to get this. Yeah, absolutely.
Like he gets shot in the balls. Like, come on. I want him to get shot in the balls so bad. Like, I understand not drawing the story out because it makes sense. Like, yeah, in the books, we have 2 books in a row where we have a conflict with him at the end. So I understand, like, not wanting to be repetitive. And so they condense everything with him in the show. Mm-hmm. But in the books, like, we don't think about him every day in the books. You know, like,
no.
We only makes up this plan to get him in the 5th one because it works out that way. That
there's an opportunity there.
I think Stephen Bonnet in the books is much more just of an obstacle for a ton of our characters, not really the overarching antagonist like a Jonathan Randall was. Like Jonathan Randall, when he was present in the books, was the big bad evil. He was like the ultimate villain, and my God, I loved him. I loved to hate him, right? He's like the best villain. He's like probably one of my favorite book villains of all time. Sorry, my dogs are playing.
No, they're agreeing. They're like, yes, he was a dick.
Yes, he's the best villain. So, but like Stephen Bonnet is very much more of just like an obstacle. I don't really see him as this like big baddie antagonist, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's mostly an inconvenience at some point. So like, really, you're back again?
Like he definitely like, I would say in certain characters, like in Brianna's story, he would be considered the villain, but I think in the overarching books that he's in, just because he's just contained to like this one storyline, he's not the big bad. Jonathan.
And that's the other thing too of like, so back to a little bit of like how I'm frustrated with the way things have went with Bree, her being one of my favorites, is that Bree is so strong. And yes, she's affected. She still has trauma. It's not like the book version of her doesn't have any trauma. She writes in her journals about it. She has, you know, some sexual issues with Roger in the beginning of it. But she also like isn't as afraid to work through it. And she's not like a wilting violet with it. Like that is one thing that happens with trauma. I'm not, you know, trying to categorize any, like that's not where this is coming from. I always say that in my book when I try to talk like I know stuff. Like I'm not speaking from personal experience. I just mean I like when they show other ways to get through trauma. In this book series, we see like 4 main different people be assaulted. We see Jamie, Ian, Claire, and Bree with major assaults. And we get to see a different way to deal with trauma with each person. It doesn't always mess up everything. It doesn't always have you jumping at shadows, but it does change who you are a little bit. And I like that Bree in the books is just like, that happened, it messed this part up, but like, it's not stealing anything from me. We're going. And I'm like missing that from her. They went kind of the classic, like, I've been raped, I have nightmares about it, I'm worried about this, like flashback.
In the show they did that?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They
oh my gosh. So different.
I was just disappointed because I was like, this isn't Bree in the books. Like she has trauma, but she deals with it differently. And I wanted to see her deal with it differently than we see it happen in, you know, every other show where that happens to them. And I like that she's like, because I think she's the one in the book that says, what about my honor? Like when they're all wanting to kill him.
Yes.
He's the one that says, what about my honor? And Jamie says, he's like, your husband needs to do that you need to let him do this for you.
That's why she said it, because they were arguing about whose right it was to kill him. Like Jamie was arguing, and then Roger was arguing because, you know, that's how it was in the past. Like you had to defend the female's honor. And she was just like, no, he wronged me. He didn't wrong you. He didn't wrong you. It's me.
You know, how powerful would it have been in the show to include that? As at the end, when they get him, they offer her the knife. Like, you know, here you go. It's your call. What happens to him? So that would have been actually a really nice addition in the show.
Because that's what she does. Yeah, that's what they do in the book. Is they have him tied up, and Roger's like, I just wanted to off him, but your dad said we had to ask you. And
he was so aggravated.
Yeah, and so they kind of do that because they ask her what she wants to do, and she says, "Let it be according to the law." But they leave out the important like follow through where she says, "I'm the only person who can kill him. That this isn't murder. Because if you kill him, even if it's for me, you're still murdering him. Me deciding it's justice." And so in the book, when she goes, which in the book too, it's like it's a long time after because she's already had Macy and they know they're going to blah 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 whatever. She doesn't shoot him, and it isn't a question whether she's doing it for mercy or for justice.
Right.
The justice is him being drowned. Her mercy is her killing him.
Yes. Yeah.
And she goes out and shoots him. And in the book,
go with God line in the show.
Yeah.
And I think it really is the worst for it because they're just Roger was like, "Did you do that like to show him mercy or to get revenge?" And she just gives him like a dirty look and walks away. And I really miss the go with God, Stephen. It says something about her character, and it says something about his character, and it says something about their characters and the relationship between the two of them, for better or for worse.
Yeah, because he knows she's coming. Like he knows she's gonna come. In the book, you left it a little bit late, and she's like, "Go with God," and that's one of the last things she does. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, they had made some sort of arrangement. I think they got something out of the deal. I don't remember what it was, but I know she and Jamie like arranged it with him that too. And I don't know because it's been a while since I read the book. Like if he gave them information or if the money or I don't know.
To who? Sorry, say that again.
See, Bonnet makes an arrangement with Jamie and Bree, and I think that they get something in exchange for killing him, for putting him out of his misery, so to speak. And again, making that up. Am I totally dreaming that, or do they get information from him?
I don't think so.
I don't remember that.
If anyone remembers in the comments.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking that like he gave them some sort of information, and we find out later. Maybe I'm making it up.
I thought she did it because when she finds out how they're going to kill him, she decides she has to go there because she is just going to let them take care of it.
That's what I'm remembering too.
What his sentence is, and she says, "I have to be there because I can't let it go this way."
I'll have to read it again and see, and because I don't know. I remember this her and Jamie working something out, and maybe that's what it was that they worked out. They would go,
But that's okay. So kind of the last. I mean, we're getting close here. We could talk. We can go on. Another one later. We got many more. But the next thing too, I do want to talk about Willie a little bit because we never get to talk about him when we have show stuff going on. Yeah. But this time through, everyone says, "Oh, I don't really like Willie." The first time through the books, I skipped almost all of his stuff because I didn't like him.
Oh my God.
I know. Second time through, I know. Second time through, I've seen Turn now. And so William's stuff was all just like right out of Turn because it's him up in Canada. He meets Robert Rogers. He meets, the Ranger. Yeah, he's a spy. That's when he like meets it. So all these things is like straight out of Turn. And we get to see Willie as he meets every single one of our people, not knowing who they are. And so when he meets Ian, like anytime you see a dog, like a wolf came in, you're like, "Oh, it's Ian." So this time through, I really made myself read it. And I really liked Willie. I know when I go into Moby that I won't like him as much because he's throwing a fit over finding out who his dad is. Which I'm like, you're the luckiest damn kid in the world that you don't even know it. You're dad, and you have Fraser. You're the best dads ever. But I just really like these times. I'd like to know what you guys think. Like when Claire has lost Jamie. Oh my God. And he's calling her Mother Claire, and he's been so sweet to her and just being a good stepson because she's married to John, and just like So anyway,
that whole arc. Oh my god, I could talk about that forever. Like when she marries. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I love it. I love it. She's bringing this 2 times this year.
And so I'm going to say, like, I am so with you, Jen. When I read Willie's scenes in the books, when I was talking earlier about the kind of slog that you get through some of the books, like that was it for me. Willie's scenes. And I think it's worth a reread. I really should go back and reread the series, because now seeing where he ends up in Written in My Own Heart's Blood. And that's why I love the 8th book so much, is because you finally, like, even though he's like so frustrating, like you could just like shake him. I love his storyline. And now we're finally connecting his story to the bigger picture. And like, I love all of that in the 8th book so much. So I will say that I'm so with you, though. His scenes were so smooth. But
oh my God. I just kind of can't with Willie.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I love him so much because, well, the first half of his scenes aren't great. But when he gets hurt in the woods and he meets Ian and then he meets the hunters. Then
right. That's a good sequence.
Yes.
And it's so funny because at the end of the 6th book, Jamie is like, I don't want to meet my son at the other end of a rifle. And then in this one, he almost shoots him twice. And then when Jamie comes to get Claire at the end, and Willie says, who am I? He doesn't ask, who are you? He says, who am I? And Jamie says, your birth name is James. It's the only name I had to give you. Peace out. I'm taking John. Bye. And like leaves. What is he supposed to do? Like from his side, like his dad is a traitor. He's a criminal. And his dad lied to him his whole life. So this time through, I appreciate it more.
Yeah. But I think I would too. I should reread it for sure. Talking about the marriage to John Gray, can we stay on that for a second?
Yes, I love it.
I'm with you, Jen.
I freaking can't. I just can't.
I love that they have angry sex and they're both having sex with Jamie. And I love it. I like appreciate it so much. And then there's
the repercussions of it, and Jamie being like, are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly.
And the scene after that where she's not drunk this time and John's like, do you want me to make you feel better? You know I know how to do that, right? And I was like,
oh my God.
He's like running the can like down at her, and I'm like, oh God, nope, we're not drunk enough this time.
We're not drunk enough. Honestly, I just cannot with that arc. I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? I'm reading this book. I'm like, are you serious right now?
Like Jamie in the 8th book.
She was.
But at the same time, I have a question. Did you guys watch? I guess it was last season where John had the measles. And Claire was taking care of him, and it was just the 2 of them. And were you like, this is kind of making me like, interested in what the end of season 7 is going to be like?
I want to see John Gary and Christina have sex so badly.
Well, I feel like now that you know, like when you get like they actually get married and do all that, it's like that scene, like way back when, it's like total foreshadowing. Like they're like, you know, kind of like connecting, and I'm just like the whole time I was reading like that arc, I was just like, Jamie's gonna be so mad when he finds out.
The whole time. That's why I loved it. I was like, I just want Jamie to see, like,
yes,
that's why I love the 8th book. I loved that.
John Gray is the most perfect, wonderful, precious, beautiful, best friend, best dad, best godfather person. Like he's perfect. Like when you read from his point of view, he's like an angel. Like he's perfect.
Have you guys read the John books?
I haven't read any of the John Gray books. No, I haven't.
I'm excited now. I wasn't.
They're good.
Yeah.
You definitely during this long Outlander, you absolutely should. They're really, some are a little better than others, but Jamie's in a bunch of them. And I don't remember. Part of the Blade meeting happens like during the whole Hellwater period, and really gets at like a big rift between Jamie and Laura Jen. It's really good. Really good.
I just, this time through, like, because his chapters, like, he's just so worried about everyone. And when he's trying to help, like, Dottie get over here, and then you realize, like, Dottie wanted to marry Denzel this whole time. And, like, and that Willie was gonna help her get here by saying he wanted to marry her. Like, I didn't even
yes, I forgot all that.
And then he's like, you wanted to marry this doctor? I thought you wanted to marry her cousin. I'm so confused. Like,
I know that twist came about. I'm just like, what?
I love it. I love the Hunters. I didn't pay enough attention to them the first time. And like talking about like loving the start of a romance. Ian Fraser is the sexiest guy. Oh my God. And like, because Willie's kind of been flirting with Rachel this whole time. And then like Ian runs into her and like it's in the rain and he just like kisses her. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh my God, I think I love you. Like he's like, and then she
in the rain glitches it. Yeah.
She reaches to touch him and he's like, lass, you can't touch me. Because I'm gonna treat you if you touch me. And then like,
is it getting hot in here for anybody else? Like,
it's so weird because you like grow up with Ian, right? You like see him as this like little kid. And you're like, oh, Ian.
I know.
Man.
That's why I should take a page from Jen's book and write their ages like at the start of each book because I'm thinking of Ian as like, little baby Ian, and I'm just like, wait, what? No.
I know.
Yeah.
So weird.
At the beginning of each one, I look up the ages because, I needed to figure out Willie's because I think he's like 19 at this one. And then
he's 7
recently. I always have to write those down because we start with them so young.
Yes.
No.
And so much time goes by in each book because, like they're huge, but it's just like, whew.
Yeah. Ian's arc in Echo is really why I loved it so much this time. Like when he goes back to say goodbye to Emily and meets the son of his spirit, and then he's dealing with the guilt of having killed Merdina. And then when he decides, like, he's not just gonna, like, because he's ready, like his arc in this one's amazing. Like he says to Bug, like, take me. And he's like, no, I'll kill your dog. And he's like, but my dog didn't do anything. And he's like, you don't have
that was horrible.
I know. Like, you don't have anything I want yet. I'll come back when you have something I want.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, and he goes to that whole arc when he says goodbye to his dad. And Ian Sr. is like, there's something special about talking to another person who shares your name. And just like all the scenes at Lollybrow.
I know.
Like,
that was so great.
And Leary redeems herself a little bit. Like, I forgot all these things. And Jenny being so upset that Claire can't save Ian. And
all that.
It's so good. And Ian, like,
right.
Ian,
and then all the Roger and Bree stuff in the future. All that was great too.
Yeah. Yeah. And when Ian, like, they tell Ian Sr. and Jenny tell Ian to go back to get Rachel because they're like, you don't need to see your dad die. Like, you said goodbye and you need to go get Rachel. And now he has something to live for. And then like Bug shows up and Ian just steps in front of her and he's like, you're going to have to fucking kill me. And I was like, I can't breathe. And she calls him her wolf. And as long as he comes back and sits at her feet every night, it'll work out. So I'm completely converted. I've always loved Ian, but I've seen him as like, oh, cute Ian. Like, I love him. And this year, so I'm like, he's a man. Why am I treating him like a kid? Like,
I know, it's so weird.
It's so weird. I'll have to write down that. Like, if I do a reread, and I should, because honestly, even if you read these books 2 or 3 times, even if you read, you'll get stuff like, oh, I don't remember that happening, or when did that happen? Like, just because there's so much going on in these books. And, especially with these, like the last couple of books, you just can't help but, you just can't help but kind of like skim certain scenes. Like, if they're not your favorite, they're just like, okay, well, let's get through this until I figure out somebody that I do like. So it's like, even, I just love that when you're able to reread a book and then you just get new information. You feel like you're almost reading it for the first time again. I just love that.
So something else new, who Fergus's dad is, totally didn't pick that up until. Do you guys know who it is?
No.
Fergus's father.
Well, that's also
Who is it?
I know. I'm
know?
just like, brain.
It's Sandra Mine. It's Fergus's dad.
You're gonna have to recap those 8,000 pages for me.
It's the Count de Saint-Germain, who is Fergus's father.
Oh gosh, yes.
Wait, who?
Yes.
Saint-Germain.
That's right.
Saint Germain.
The Count. Yeah.
Right? There's this guy, Percival Beecham, who's trying to find Fergus the whole time. And
I forgot about that.
Fergus has a beautiful thing where he says, when you're an orphan, you hope that you are the son of a diplomat or a prince or something. And then I grew up and realized I already had the greatest man in the world as my dad. And you're like,
That's why when you asked, like, who's Fergus's dad? I was like, oh, it's not Jamie.
No, it's not.
I'm like, I was like,
yeah.
And I forgot.
Yeah. And
I've only read.
You think that Beecham is trying to find him to like see like that he's the dad, like that's what we think, and so it's like, ooh, maybe Claire's related to Fergus somehow. Cool, whatever. And then he's like, no, it was my sister, and she had an affair with him. Yeah. And then he was married, but his wife died, but then he still wouldn't marry her. So she ended up at the Tres Felices brothel where she had Fergus and then died a year later, and he was left there.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I totally forgot that.
Sandra Mine was legally married to her because they had the paperwork filled out. So Fergus is the legal heir of Sandra Mine.
Yes. Yes.
Everything.
Oh God.
Right? Me too.
I need to read it again.
I'm like, oh my God.
I guess like the first time reading that, I'm just like, I didn't grasp the importance of it.
Right.
Just like I totally.
Well, that's the thing.
So much
With the last couple of books, we talked about this earlier, but there's so many plot points and so many characters introduced. And in some ways it's great because it's really interesting. In other ways, it's a bit of a negative. I mean, I had asked this earlier, but like, I don't know if you guys are Game of Thrones fans, if you watch the show.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of feel like we need Cersei to come in and blow up the castle, whatever the hell she did, and wiped out like a third of the cast. I think we would kind of benefit from that because there's just so many people in these stories now that I'm like, I can't keep them all straight, No,
and there's something to be said about the first book concentrating just on Jamie and Claire.
Yes, agreed.
It's so accessible. Like if you were expected to learn all the characters right away, I don't think it would be what it is today because no one would be able to get into it. It would just be too much.
It's so convoluted.
But there's a reason why I haven't yet reread the last two books. Okay. And I think that's it because it's just like it's such a big job to do, and it's not like the size of the book because it's more or less the same as A Breath of Snow and Ashes. I think is the longest one. It's just so much story.
Yeah,
it's true. Which is a benefit and a curse.
And then you have to get through like Claire's 1,000 surgeries that she does.
Oh my God.
Don't get me wrong, I love learning about the human anatomy. I know more about the human body than I ever thought I
would. That's a great question.
So much.
Honestly, like
surgery.
Honestly, the one surgery that is just stuck in my mind, and I was talking about this on my own live stream Wednesday or Thursday with my friend, and we started talking about Outlander, and I was like, we've read all of these books, and the one scene that just sticks in my brain is when Claire is taking these hemorrhoids off this guy, and she's having to tie. I was like, he has like 3 like golf ball size hemorrhoids, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? I do not need a whole chapter explaining this.
That's the one I knew you were going to say that.
Oh
God. Burned in my brain.
It's in there forever.
One of the things I love about Denzel is how open-minded he is for a healer of his time. And because that little bit where they're like in the army together and like they do a surgery together and he's like, oh, this is so amazing. What are you doing? Like, what is this ether? This is so cool. And she's like,
yes.
Don't so excited.
Don't huff it.
I love that.
And don't tell anyone because it's not really supposed to be invented for another 50 years.
And like probably one of my favorite surgery from this book is Jamie's hand, because he gets
yes, that's probably mine too.
He takes out this finger, and like I just read it as the scene is beautiful because number one, she's putting him to sleep first because she's like, honey, I'm not just going to chop off your hand. I'm going to fix it because this hand has hurt you for 30 years. I'm going to fix it.
I know.
And so, but he's like, but the laudanum gives me bad dreams. And he's so sad. And she's like, it's okay. I'll be right here. And so he's like talking, and he has this beautiful speech he always does, where you didn't need to do that thing that he does where he like does a charge. He does a Highland charge basically, but he saves these 50 people. And Claire compares him to Abraham asking God, if he'll save, if there's this many people. And he's like, if I only saved one person, it was worth it. And so she's just, but she takes out this finger, and now like he doesn't have like pain in this hand for 30 years. And it's like taking that memory of Blackjack that he'll feel whenever his hand hurts. And she takes it out. And it's so amazing. Like Diana,
that's such a great scene.
Like that could be what that means, that this finger hasn't worked and he hasn't been able to write, and actually taking it out, she fixes his hand better than it was before. And so I love that surgery.
I mean, they're just fantastic. Like this whole series, like my two favorite characters will always be Jamie and Claire, just because of how they are together, their chemistry. It's one of the reasons why I love the show, is just because they're two characters, even just on screen, them together, Sam and Katrina, they're just so beautiful together. I'm just like, come on. It's like you can't fake that. They have that as soon as they call action and they're on screen and they're together. They don't even have to be interacting in a scene together. They can just be in the same room and you can just see it. It hits different. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, that is what I like say when I compare the two, is like, it's never the actors that's a problem for me. Never, not once. I always think the actors, whoever they cast, is great. It's the things that hurt me is when I see a scene like this scene, what's one that you would have seen? Like I don't know. I'm thinking about it in the newest season because that's what I've seen. Like when he comes in and saves Claire after the assault, I see James Fraser right there when he's saying the things, when he's like, how many? And he's like, kill them all. Yeah. And I'm like, that is him. So what hurts me is I see this and I see that to Jamie, and then I see him doing stuff where he's like ignoring Roger and being annoying. And I'm like, but you're Jamie. Like, do it. Do it the way it's supposed to be. So anyway.
Yeah.
That's what bugs me. But Sam is impeccable. Like the way he makes me believe that he's 55-year-old Jamie Fraser.
Right. Yeah, the two of them are both very, very good at being at older Jamie and Claire, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We talked already. I don't want to go, but I know it's later for.
We should do this again sometime. So much to talk about.
Maybe we'll make this like once a month, and we'll find other Outlander booktubers too. We'll have a therapy session because
it's great therapy.
I just start my
reading. Yeah, and we'll get Carol. I so want to hear Carol's talk.
Oh my god! I mean, the whole talk about Turn. Oh my god, that would be her. That would be 2 hours. 2 hours gone because she'd like talk about that the whole time.
I love it. I love when she meets Benedict Arnold. Sorry, I could just keep going. Like conversation. I didn't introduce myself. I'm General Major Benedict Arnold, and we're just like, what? And then he's there when he gets injured, and he's like, I wish I would have died, and you just know what's going to happen. And like, Diana's amazing. Anyway, okay. You guys are all so wonderful. Thank you, everyone who joined. I hope you checked out the form down below to sign up for the giveaways. Please do that. I'll send out those to you later. And we'll try to do one of these again soon. Thank you for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
So much fun. Thank you so much, Jen.
It was nice to meet you all. So
nice meeting you.
All right. Have a great night.
Have a good weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Bye.